And before we start, I have to read out this notice. I am obliged to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings and are requested to give prior notice so that any additional measures that may assist can be put into place. Any member of the public who has any concerns should raise them now. Right, thank you. So we go to the agenda. So item 1, apologies for absence. We do have apologies from David Minery. Can we authorize the? Yeah. Right. Item 2, disposable pecuniary interests. No. If anything crops up, just shout as we go through the meeting. Item 3, the minutes. They're included here. Everyone happy with the minutes? Yeah. Right. Okay, thank you. Item 4, public question time. I'm not aware of any public questions. No. Item 5, scrutiny items. Not aware of any scrutiny. No. Item 6, financial outturn. So this was put under the name of David Minery. Is James around? Do you want to just run us through quickly?
Very quickly. This is almost exactly the same report that came along to Cabinet on the 31st of May. But in producing the statement of accounts, there was an adjustment that needed to be made, and because this report is the outturn report that then gets used in future years, we felt that it was necessary, because there was a couple £100,000 difference, £129,000 difference in the financial outturn position at the end of it, that Cabinet just needed to see it and rubber seal it. So there's no real there's no changes to the document to what you used previously. It's just so that we have the full document seen by Cabinet for future reference.
So just so everybody's exactly clear, what's the difference? The figure 100 and...
So it's £129,000. It's in that opening paragraph. The opening paragraph of the report.
129 million.
Yeah, is just in relation to housing benefit subsidy grant and the way in which that was treated. It's then been revised in the statement of accounts, and so to get the statement of accounts to balance to the outturn, we've had to revise the outturn report.
Okay. Oh, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. It will go to Council and maybe, hopefully, to a scrutiny committee before Council. But reading the document again, I do notice on page 31, where it's got school balances held by schools under scheme of delegation. Don't know if the word net should be there, because I note from the schools forum that school balances actually reduced by 1.25 million. From 8.03 million to 6.779 million. That's taken out to the schools that are already in deficit. So the surplus held by schools reduced by 1.25 million in the year that this covers, which was 16%, not 12%. Or anything like that.
I'm not even going to try and answer, but I'll let James try.
It is the net figure, but if you want me to get you a breakdown.
Yeah, I've got it, Chairman, in the schools forum papers, but it shows the schools have got problems. And I heard the Queen speak, and I hope the Shropshire Council will continue to press for a fairer funding. And I heard what was on the radio, but showing the school balances went down by 1.25 million just in 12 months. Shows there is a very, very big problem out there.
As ever, we will be talking to government and trying to get more money. At the moment, I'm in the process of trying to arrange a meeting with the Shropshire MPs and 1 or 2 other ministers in London to push for more money, but I wouldn't get excited about our prospects. So we will be trying. Right, anything else on the financial outturn? No? Right, so that's accepted then. Thank you. And now we have Quarter 4 performance report. Steve Charnley.
Thank you, Leader. As per normal report for the performance report, provides an update of the results achieved and the impact on delivering the outcomes in Shropshire. It's the third time that this has been published on the performance portal, which is the online facility, which gives everyone an opportunity to access the corporate performance information. A couple of the highlights, and I won't dwell on them, but as I'm sure we'll be pleased, Theatre 7, the Old Market Hall, has reached its highest ever figure of nearly 250,000 visits, which is really good, those facilities. Permanent admissions of adults to residential care has reduced and was lower than the expected profile. But they're just a couple of the highlights, which are, highlights probably the wrong word, but the headline figures which is available for everyone to view on the portal, so I move.
Roger?
Thank you, Chairman. I notice on page 40 it does say there's been a further 7% reduction in full-time equivalent Shropshire Council staff. What I would like to see as well included in it, sometime after this will be going to a scrutiny committee, whatever, is the number of redundancies that have been made within the schools. I'm aware that this year there's £450,000 being taken out and given to Shropshire Council, and any redundancy in a school has to be agreed by Shropshire Council, by the local authority, for it to make use of the funding. So the local authority should be aware of what redundancies are taking place in schools. So it would be good for the period covered by this report to see how many redundancies are taking place in schools. Again, it's to highlight the problem, and it may help the Cabinet and the Council make the case to government and the MPs about the state of the Shropshire schools.
Whilst I hear what you're saying and acknowledge it, what I don't want to do is raise schools' hopes when I'm not sure there is much hope that they will see increased funding. They're already at record funding anyway, so we're told. Yeah, so we're told. You know, and I don't want to open the debate, but I'm going to ask Karen if she can just sort of, or Nick, just to come back on because I don't know the answer about the redundancies.
Thanks, Leader. The position is that school governing bodies make these decisions. They're not made by Shropshire Council. The fund is there precisely to give that safety net for schools, so that if they do make redundancies, they're not having to find it out of their own budgets.
It's our cost to the sorry.
Yeah.
It's our cost as the employer. So it doesn't. The cost of redundancy is paid for by the local authority.
I think what Roger was saying, it wasn't so much about the money, it was just are we gathering information about the numbers?
We would have that information, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like, if we can, Chairman, please.
Yeah, so can you forward that to Roger so he's got, you know, and copy me in so I'm aware. Yeah. I don't know, does everybody want to see that or no? Yeah. If it's easy, we'll circulate it. Yeah. Okay. But other than that, this actual performance report is quite a good report. You know, it's very positive. So I think we're heading in the right direction. If there's nothing else on that, we'll accept that report. And then we move on to community right to bid process amendment. Joyce.
Thank you. The paper sets out the proposals to amend the community right to bid process and asks for additional information from the nominators and additional questions of the town and parish councils and the community enablement officers. The main changes are procedural and relate to the council's current guidance on the form. It's an electronic form which has to be completed by prospective nominator, together with the information derived from the key consultees. Firstly, the existing form mentions a specific group which is not actually recognised in the legislation. It mentions constituted community voluntary group. A nomination coming forward from this group will fall under the unincorporated body category. This amendment to the form should make it clearer in terms of the type and nature of the groups which can nominate and avoid future confusion on which bodies qualify in terms of legislation. Secondly, the form has been updated to request more detailed information from the nominator to help inform the decision on listing. Questions have been included, for instance, about the current and future use of the asset being nominated. This is aimed at trying to get sufficient detail from the nominating body to make an informed decision. In the past, limited information has been included on the form, and the proposed changes should allow the process to be administered more quickly and efficiently by officers, which has to be welcomed by all of us, I think. Finally, the process of consultations with appropriate parties is also proposed to be amended to derive further more detailed information from town and parish councils and community enablement officers. This should provide more clarity for the key consultees in terms of the information required to make a robust assessment in accordance with the legislation. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone? Alan?
I'm sort of in the process of being involved in one of these, but I just, in terms of that second point, it requests detailed information from the nominated parish council and community enablement. Is the local member involved in this process and consulted and asked about the proposal?
George?
So ordinarily, Alan, yes, the answer to that is yes. It doesn't form part of the formal process, but as officers, we would obviously want to seek the views of the local member with regards to this.
Well,
But-
Chair,
Well, I was going to
I
say,
would
the
then say
protocol of
it's
this
essential-
council is that you actually normally would inform
Yeah.
people anyway, so I would expect, even if it's not written into the process, it should be happening, shouldn't
well, I
it?
think it needs to be written into the process. I think if community enablement officer is going to be consulted, the local member, it's essential that they are, and that is recognised within the written process.
Right, let's figure out how we do that, but you're definitely
It's
right.
easy, you just add it to this.
Yeah, the protocol is definitely that, from this council, is that if something's happening in your division, you should be told.
Well, if it's protocol, write it in the context in which
Yeah,
this is.
okay, do you want to, is it easy to add that as part of the recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the way you do it?
Absolutely. The reason it's not in, Alan, is because it's standard protocol anyway for officers to do that. But if it helps to put it into this document, then we can do so, yes.
Yeah, okay, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. I've had experience of this in a couple of occasions, or 3 or 4 occasions in my past. The local member is informed, but it's right at the end of the process. Parish council is informed, and not the local member. I learned from the parish council about applications for community assets that had gone through. I had to contact the appropriate officers and say, what is happening? I had to contact, even the community enablement officer at that time did not know that an application had been made. The actual order of people being told that an application has been made does need to be looked at, and I would suggest that the member needs to be right at the top.
Right, so if we put some wording in
Yeah.
about the protocol, can we put something like at the earliest opportunity or something like that, so that it's earlier in the process rather than at the end of the process?
Yeah.
Well, I think it needs to be on a par with the other constables.
Well,
As a matter of course.
I'm just reading there, that works.
Can I just say something?
Yeah,
Peter?
of course you can.
Yeah, if I can just say, I was involved in something like this to do with Maysbury School, where they were trying to bid for the school, and I have to say that actually the process now is so much better than it was before, and I think what you're suggesting does actually sit properly. We should be informed as members, and we're going to do that anyway.
What I'm being told is this can be done under delegation, so they will
Okay.
change the appropriate wording to make sure that it's all included.
But thank you for that.
And I think everybody's got the message now that everybody needs to know at an early stage. The only thing that surprised me about the report was actually that there were 74 successful community rights to bid. It's far more than I expected.
Good.
So it is happening, and it is right. But other than that, is everyone happy with the report that will be amended by the officers under delegated powers? Okay, right. And then item 9, community asset transfer policy amendment. And this has got Steve's name
Yeah.
on it.
Thank you, Lydia. Very, very similar to the previous one. The recommendation there is for everyone to read, but it adds community amateur sports clubs as a qualifying organisation and amends the timescales. So it's a process paper, but I move to take any questions.
Anyone got a question? Right, okay, so that's accepted then? Okay, thank you very much. Item 10, public space protection order for Shrewsbury Town Centre. Roberts.
Okay, this is a paper that's came to the previous cabinet in December of last year, and is about trying to give another tool to public protection officers and the police around how we keep the middle of Shrewsbury a vibrant place for the businesses, residents, visitors and the local agencies, so that we curb antisocial behaviour within that area. It's not meant to solve all of the issues. There's a number of bits of legislation that cover a lot of these already. This one specifically is looking at the two prohibitions around urinating in public and leaving personal belongings, and also looking at controls on alcohol, and if there is antisocial behaviour, a specific area where that person would be asked to leave from. This would put the order into place for up to 3 years, but it's subject to review. There's a number of recommendations that are set out. The consultation results from it were supportive of the approach and that it was needed. The one thing I will add is that, as this is the first one that we've used in Shropshire, is I would ask that a report would come back to Cabinet after the first 12 months to assess how effective it's been and that it's achieving what we want it to. Part of the process itself is it needs to gather evidence as it progresses anyway. So
I was actually at one of the meetings that started this process, and the police are extremely keen that we do this, because they say it will help them in the day-to-day work they do in the town centre. So I'm very supportive of it. Any other comments on it? No? Right, so is everyone happy with that then? Right, thank you. How quickly do we do these cabinet meetings? Item 11, Shropshire Council Local Plan Review. Robert, you're a busy chap at the moment.
this one may take a little bit longer, I don't know. I mean, basically, the report that you've got in front of you is to seek approval to publish a revised version of the local development scheme and provide a summary of the feedback that we've received so far from the consultation we've done on the issues and strategic options for the local plan review. It's part of an ongoing review process that needs to be done to ensure our local plan is up to date, so that we can give it full weight in all our planning decisions. That's obviously been a hot topic over the past few years. The actual local development scheme itself is the project plan, and sets out which policies we are looking at reviewing, the timelines that we're doing that on, and a bit of the process that we're going to go through. I'd only draw your attention to a couple of things. One is there is a risk assessment in there. It is quite a tight time scale, but it's one we need to stick to on a legal basis to ensure our local plan remains up to date. But it will be one that will move through as per that timetable. We did do a consultation that went out widely, and we had about 400 responses, and the main headlines from those responses are in the report, but they'll shortly be published on the council's web pages as well. What I'm conscious of is there is obviously a lot of interest in this from towns and parish councils and residents. So what I'm going to suggest is that we, in addition to all the recommendations in the report, is actually that we'll hold a series of probably 5 public meetings to which people will be invited from across the county to be open, which will allow people to come along, hear about the feedback that we've had so far through this process, and to be quite clear on what the next stages are for this before we go back to everybody. Obviously, where there's large areas of growth in the town council, potentially the market town council areas and so on, that may need additional meetings directly with them, but certainly these series of meetings will give everyone the opportunity to attend and to be clear on what's being fed back and what the next steps are.
Right, any further comments? Roger?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm unclear in it, and there's a mention about hubs and clusters. What the position is of hubs and clusters and development boundaries, what their position is up until the adoption of the new plan review. So this is published now and it's a revised version, but hubs and clusters and development boundaries, they remain as are, with no alterations. I'm not clear in it. And also, I note the timescale, December 2018 for submission to the Secretary of State, and I welcome the discussions with parish and town councils. I think that is needed. Also welcome the local plan review group, which is going to meet on it. But there does need to be the widest possible public dissemination on it. We had it under Mel, and I think Robert may be adopting the same policy. Please can we have it more open and transparent and actually making decisions and then bringing them here?
I hear what you're saying. We are under more time pressure this time that we're doing it than we were last time, so it is slightly more difficult. I have no idea about the answer to your question about hubs and clusters, but I know a man who may be able to help.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, happy to pick that one up. In terms of the...
You want to come and use the mic?
Okay, yeah. Okay, everybody hear me okay? Yeah, hubs and clusters, in the intervening period until the local plan review has been completed, the current local plan is in force, is undiminished, and therefore the current position with respect to named hubs, clusters and their development boundaries remains until that plan is replaced on adoption of the review plan.
Okay, does that answer?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It's just I wasn't clear in it because there are comments about the number of responses that were received in it about hubs and clusters and development boundaries.
The existing plan exists until it's replaced, is my understanding. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anything else? No? Right. We do invite the public to comment on it, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure we don't need to say that, but yeah, the more the better, even if it does create more work, but that's what it's all about. Right, so that's accepted. Item 12, indoor leisure facilities strategy. Leslie.
Thank you, Leader.
Use the mic, please.
Oh, sorry, forgot that. The indoor facilities strategy has been developed to set out a vision and a framework for support, and it's in a sense it supports our wider vision. Our corporate priorities, healthier, active lifestyles for residents of Shropshire. The formation of this strategy has actually taken a number of months and has involved expert input from local, regional and national sports bodies and has been out for public consultation not once but twice. It sets out a hierarchy of leisure centre provision. The Tier 1 centres, they are around the larger market towns. Tier 2, the community leisure centres in the smaller market towns and also some of the larger settlements. The hierarchy concentrates on a framework for council investment and support. It is certainly not intended to be an exhaustive list of all the indoor facilities that are provided within Shropshire. Once approved, the next stage will be to work with a broad range of interested parties to develop a coordinated and jointly owned 5-year implementation plan. Arriving at a cost-neutral position for the Tier 2 leisure centres may take some time, and ensuring their long-term sustainability is a top priority. However, I would like to reiterate that as the strategy states, we have no intention of closing any leisure centres, but we recognise that the council needs to prioritise its future financial support. I move the report.
Thank you. Alan.
I'm looking at Tier 1 leisure
Do
hubs.
you want to use the mic just to be...
I see that the Quarry Swimming and Fitness Centre
I did warn that this might crop up, yes.
is listed, and that it clearly states there'll be ongoing revenue support as required. Now, obviously, there's been significant controversy about the removing of the Quarry Swimming and Fitness Centre, or its closure and taking it up to the sports village. This seems to take away some of the pressures that might have been involved in coming to those sort of conclusions. So, does this represent that the massive public opinion and the pressure being put on various various council organisations and community groups has been successful? And given what you've said, and I'm speaking to the leader, not just the portfolio witness, about what is going on, could you give an absolute assurance then that the Swimming and Fitness Centre will stay within Shrewsbury Town Council, It may not be called a quarry in future, because we might look for something else, but can you give that assurance that the Quarry Swimming and Fitness Centre is safe for now, given the financial support that's going to be made available, and that in future any redevelopment of the centre and its facilities will take place within the town centre?
I wouldn't want to give an absolute 100% assurance. All I can say is it is safe for the time being and funding is in place for the time being, and I will do everything possible to ensure that a future facility will be within the town centre. But I can only I'll give that assurance. I will try as hard as I can to ensure that that's the way forward.
Well, just to comment, you know there are a number of organisations and Strawberry Town Council that will be looking to support you in that objective.
Okay, and Roger, did you want to comment?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm interested in the Quarry Swimming Centre, obviously, but I'm interested also in the wider aspects. I noticed that the recommendation delegate responsibility to the director in consultation with the portfolio holder. I'm concerned about the wider public debate that may need to take place in certain areas.
But this document's been kicking around for months for public
I'm wondering
consultation.
about the tier 3, if you want to, community leisure centres, and how that is taken forward. In year 15 months, there's going to be £238,000 taken from them. In my own division, parish councils have had to take over some aspects that were previously provided by Shropshire Council, and that parish council has had to take it over. But it is used by a much wider part of the community. And if one looks at the tier 3 community leisure centres, and that 238,000 is going to be removed, where is that money going to come from? Is it the local parish and town councils or not? Because there is a much, much wider community involvement. I can quote, if you want to, locally, for those who know it, Lith Hill, Pontbury Library. They are both being supported by the individual parish councils, and it's causing them to raise their precepts quite drastically in order to do it. But they are being used by a community much, much wider than live in that local parish. So the parish is supporting use of amenities being used by a wider community, and I'm concerned with this, especially tier 3, and it's being withdrawn March 18 or sometime soon after. How that discussion is going to be taken forward, so that, and it isn't going to be landed at the door of one small council or one small town council even, because that is a lot of money that they have to find very, very quickly. And I do have concerns about where it says delegate responsibility to the director, etc., how that is going to be taken forward.
Okay, and before you try and answer, Madge would like to say something, but can you come and use the mic, please?
Yes, sorry I didn't sit at the table, Chairman. I just wanted to comment as a trustee of the Seven Centre.
Use the mic,
yeah.
Please. Thank you.
As a trustee of one of the third tier at the Seven Centre, Highley Parish Council, which is a small council, Roger, and hope you will accept, has long funded, supported the Seven Centre with its swimming pool, its library, its community facilities. And I see nothing wrong with this. Your concern about having to raise the precept. If you have a facility as good, I will use the Seven Centre as an example, as good as that, then why wouldn't your parish council support it? I can't see that argument at all. I accept that if something's being funded through county council, unitary council, whatever in the past, yes, there needs to be some sort of transition before the parish council can take on any full cost. But it seems to me that if it's in your patch and in your parish, then of course you'll put something on the precept. What you do, because I have a ring of smaller parishes around Highley, as indeed we do in Clibbery, is you encourage those parish councils to, and they do things through promoting events, that sort of thing, campaigning and all that type of thing, to keep that facility, which is within reasonable, even walking distance sometimes, or certainly cycling distance, because of course we don't have any public transport either out in our neck of the woods. So why wouldn't the parish council put it in their precept? I haven't a clue why we wouldn't do that. Sorry.
Actually, I think Roger's point was that that's okay, but I suspect that you're dealing with Ponsonby as well, say, people who would use the indoor facilities at Ponsonby don't necessarily come from that parish, they come from outside the parish. But I think that's just one of the facts of life.
I accept that. That's what happens in the Highley and the Clibbery district. But you get it in other ways, because actually they come into the area and they usually go off to the pub and have a meal and something. So you get it through the economy channel.
Yeah, of course. Right, Leslie, George, I don't know which one.
You don't understand the area most.
I do understand it as well as you, Roger. In response to Councillor Evans, with the case of the Tier 3 indoor provisions, there's only 3 of them that are not currently sorted, and we're in advanced negotiations on those. I can't help but agree with Councillor Shanton that what very often happens when you do get local parishes or local community groups take over facilities, they end up being far better used. And I hate to say this, but sometimes the community actually value them so much more when they're actually sort of know that they're paying for them. If you're that unsure of what will happen in the future, Councillor Evans, we can bring this back through scrutiny if you wish.
Thank you, Chairman. I know from my experience, if I take Lith Hill, which is an open park there, that parish council has increased its precept by nearly 30% for this year, and it will have to do next year and the following year. And it is a park, and the parish council is doing it, but it is used by people from Shrewsbury, and Shrewsbury wouldn't contribute towards it. Ponsonby Library, it is being contributed by some of the parishes, but other parishes can't because of the pressures on them to do it.
Come on, there's got to be a reality check here.
It's an example, and it's an answer. There was a country park in Ponsonby Hill, Polesgate Common. That parish council has said no, they can't afford to do it. And it is an example of this, that there's a transfer. We need to have a full public open debate with the whole of the community around that area, to get them to take ownership, to get them to contribute. That's where I'm coming from, not just talk to the one parish or the one council.
I'm not sure I accept the argument at all. I'm sure the residents of Lith Hill are quite happy to come and use the quarry in Shrewsbury, and the town council pay for that. It's give and take, and that's just the way the world works. So I think, I don't think it's as big a problem as you're making it out to be. There has to be give and take in the system for it to work. And the whole nature of local government is changing, and town and parishes are going to have to take on more responsibilities if they want their local facilities, and that's just the way the world's going to go in. But I mean, you've got the opportunity to put it to scrutiny if you want it to go to scrutiny, but I'm sure we're quite happy for it to be looked at by scrutiny if you feel that aspect would benefit. We're easy, we're quite happy that it be done openly. I don't know, George, you got any suggestions? Is it a problem, or?
I won't get involved in the political debate. In terms of the wider aspects being raised, obviously this strategy has been consulted on twice. So I think there's been a real opportunity. I think the feedback on both strategies. We listened very keenly to the feedback from the first strategy, recognised there were certain aspects that needed to be changed, and that's when we went out to reconsult on the second strategy. What we're now proposing is that the action plan, which is quite rightly what a lot of communities are now asking for, we want to co-design with those communities, and we're planning to do that, led by Leslie as portfolio holder, with an event in September, and I think it would be appropriate that the outcomes of that event, we can certainly invite the Chair of Scrutiny to that event, and then bring the outcomes of that event to scrutiny, so that scrutiny play an active role in the action plan, which will be key to delivering against the strategy.
Okay, so is everyone happy with the report? The recommendations are on page 240. Okay, that's agreed then. Item 13, I'm afraid. Well, we need to move it first. The exclusion of the public and press moved, and seconded. Right, so everyone in favour of that? You'll just show us there's no doubt. Right, thank you.